So it is my honor and my pleasure to introduce our afternoon speaker, Ms. Jen Hardy. Jen Hardy, a true voice of empowerment, brings a wealth of experiences to our Women in Leadership event. A former educator and championship varsity soccer coach, y'all, I love soccer. Jen proudly carries the legacy of an SU alumni. Jen's journey has evolved into one of transformation. As a certified NLP trainer, transformational speaker, and coach, she's on a mission to have people feel heard, seen, and known, often in ways they've never experienced before. Her primary focus lies in teaching the art of mindful communication and presence to foster deep connections. Jen possesses a unique gift, the ability to carve out space for individuals to show up precisely as they are. Here, their authentic selves can rise boldly. Her talent lies in recognizing the innate greatness within others, reflecting it back to them, and providing unwavering support on their journey of self-discovery. Under Jen's guidance, people discover their purpose, unlock their true selves, and grow in ways that honor their deepest desires and passions. Jen's personal commitment to growth is unwavering. She continues her own education journey, always seeking to expand her knowledge and horizons. And of course, she still takes to the soccer field whenever the schedule allows. Please join me in welcoming Miss Jen Hardy to this stage as the afternoon.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. How are we doing after lunch, first of all? I know I'm going to have to wake you up a little bit, because sometimes everything goes to the belly and just immediately. But I do promise to take you on a journey today, and I want to ask for your permission to possibly trigger you a little bit. So do I have your permission for that, yes or yes? I want to thank Wendy for inviting me to be a part of this event and being a part of something that's such an incredible opportunity. Celebrating Shriner for 100 years and of women in leadership and all of the things that we've gone on to do with our education here and otherwise. It's just such an incredible thing to be a part of, something I never would have expected I would be a part of. So I'm really grateful for that. It's interesting because we've talked already a lot about entering with hope and leaving with achievement. And I can say that when I entered Shriner, I definitely entered with hope, with an opportunity to redefine myself, to rediscover myself, to let go of this old version, and to actually thrive, especially on the field. But in all honesty, I can say that I did not leave honoring my achievement. I did not leave respecting the time I had had here. You see, imposter syndrome is based in the idea of feeling like an intellectual fraud, of dealing with this feeling of constant self-doubt, of not being able to internalize our achievements easily. When I graduated, my diploma went into a box, not into a frame like most. And I would diminish my achievement pretty much every time I got, saying that I went to a small school, that we didn't get as much content as other people, that I was lucky I even got in, that it was just because of soccer. I dimmed it down as much as I could, as often as I could, because I was just lucky. In fact, my diploma was in a box for almost 2 decades, until my best friends found it and framed it for me as a Christmas gift 2 years ago. 2 years ago. I've been riddled with the fear of self-doubt and being uncovered the majority of my adult life. 2 weeks ago, I was freaked out. Am I going to know what the heck to say in front of all of these people today? Like, oh my God, who am I to be up here doing that? And I've talked to dozens of women over the past few weeks. Dozens and dozens and dozens of women, and every single one of them has said they have or they do deal with this imposter syndrome, this concept. And I was surprised to find in my research, even people like Maya Angelou, Lady Gaga, Michelle Obama, Ariana Huffington, were cited to be dealing with this. Anyone in here a Shark Tank fan? Yeah? Yeah. So even Mark Cuban and Barbara Cartman, they were also cited as examples. Barbara Cochran, who sold her real estate group in 2001 for $66 million, still thinks that it was a fluke, that she just got lucky. But they both also have something that I agree with in terms of a viewpoint. Someone who knows what they don't know is more likely to succeed than someone who thinks they have all of the answers. Barbara went on to say, the more successful someone is, the more self-doubt they have, because that's what drives them. Being someone that lives this paradox pretty much daily, but also coaches other people along the way, is why I'm excited to be here today, why I'm inspired to be here to share with you today. Because we've got to dismantle this idea that we need to suffer in silence, that we've got to just fake it till we make it this whole time. Because these thoughts that may be happening in your mind, they don't have to be the thing that's stopping you, that's slowing you down, that's keeping you from going for whatever it is that you want to go for. They could actually be the thing that has you bust through that glass ceiling with power and grace and confidence. And that's what I'm here to share with you today, a little bit of my journey and how I've managed to take those thoughts and those concepts and push you forward with grace, power, and confidence. But first, we kind of got to know what is imposter syndrome, because some of you might be sitting in the room going, I don't even know what she's talking about. What does she mean? And some of you are going, oh my God, I've been dealing with that my whole life and I didn't know that's what it was. Because that's what I've been getting lately. Imposter syndrome is actually something that's been around since 1978. It was originally discovered by professors Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes. And it's founded in the idea of this incongruency between how parents and society define success. What it actually looks like, what it actually sounds like, what it actually feels like. But they also found that women deal with it even more intensely and frequently than men because of how society defines what women should be. No surprise there. We're working through it though, aren't we? We also discovered that there are a lot of beliefs that are underneath these thoughts, like I'm not enough, I'm not worth it, or I don't belong. But in reality, these show up more like perfectionism. You gotta do everything right all the time, and if you don't, oh man, I can't believe you didn't. Right? Overworking to prove yourself constantly. Overcommitting to prove yourself constantly. Got that yes syndrome out there? I know some of you ladies do. I had it. People pleasing, no gray areas. Constant comparison, constant need for validation, constant need for feedback, berating ourselves for not doing it well enough or all by ourselves, because a real achievement is one that I do alone. Said another way, we tend to show up as victims, villains, or victors for ourselves and others. We're creating this reality in life that's based on a story that's being perpetuated by those thoughts. Which brings me to my first point. You are your thoughts, but you are not your stories. I don't know if anybody in here remembers when Texas decided to do a $4 billion cut on education in 2010. Anybody? Yes. So districts went on hiring freezes everywhere. Teachers were being let go. Older teachers were being pushed into retirement. It was not a good time. And I was considered a new high school teacher, and I'm like, oh man, I could get let go, and I just bought a house. Like, that doesn't work. I can't get let go. And I remember my dad told me, make sure you're so valuable that they can't consider letting you go. Really good advice. And for someone like me who was already constantly trying to prove my worth, it set this part of me from childhood who'd been doing that daily into hyperdrive. I started saying yes to everything. I started saying yes to all the programs and all the camps and all of the positions I could take on. I started doing free workouts for teachers after school. I was running Pop Warner on the weekends. I was eventually promoted to girls athletic coordinator. And at the same time, I was building a state championship program from the ground up. Oh, and I was running a fashion business on the side and dating a guy in San Antonio when I lived in Austin. I was showing up as the victor, as the hero, for sure. Look at me, look at all the things that I can do by myself, so that you don't want to look behind the curtain. No, I don't have time. I do not have time. I am too busy. I am too important. Oh, please don't actually find out. I was very quickly respected, known, exhausted, numb, and waiting for the other shoe to drop. It eventually got to a point where I was sleeping in my car for 2 to 3 hours during my planning period and lunch, or around the corner at the church. I wasn't spending time with my family, I wasn't spending time with my friends, I wasn't doing anything for me. I was really not very functional, and I hadn't even been promoted yet. It really was not working. I want you to consider this, and this is loosely quoted. Between stimulus and response lies our power and freedom to choose. But how often does it feel like when that stimulus happens that there is no space for power and freedom to choose? And it's often because that stimulus is coming through this filter of I'm not enough, I'm not worth it, I don't belong, or enter whatever it is for you. And gentlemen in the room, this is not just women. 70% of the population deal with this. So you may be asking, how do I get out of this? Well, you get responsible. Some of you just went, oh man. I know, we live in a world that's like, it's their fault, it's his fault, it's their fault, everybody else's fault, not mine. But we get responsible, but specifically we get responsible for our thoughts and our emotions. This slide right here is the basis of change. This is getting control of your reality. When you figure out what your thoughts are and how they're making you feel, that gives you what actions you have, and that impacts your results. Play a little game with me. Look around the room and see how much blue you can find. Just take a moment. Anyone, anything, everything. How much blue can you find? Take a minute, take a swivel, look around. How much blue? Anything blue. Big, small, doesn't matter. How much blue can you find in the room? Something right now. Awesome, all right. So those of you who played, close your eyes. Close your eyes. Now, count how many things you can remember that are red. Good, open your eyes. What you look for, said another way, what you focus on is what you will get. And you can do this in whichever direction works for you. I like to reverse engineer, so I can take a result that I got and go backwards and look, what were the actions that I took? What were the feelings that I was having, and what were the thoughts that I was thinking? And when I get control of those, I can have a different result. Or take something you're dealing with now, and you're not okay with how it's about to go, or you're nervous about how it's about to go, speaking in front of almost 300 people. What is your focus? What are your thoughts? What are the feelings that it's giving you? And therefore, what actions can you take to get the result that you desire? The problem is we're typically just on autopilot, being run by our old stories, our old thought patterns. We're not taking control of those. So this is your opportunity. One of my biggest discoveries when I took on this practice was realizing that I was doing what I wound up doing. I was really good at what I wound up doing, but I was doing what I wound up doing. I graduated from Schreiner with an exercise science degree and planned to be the first D1 collegiate strength coach. Because females really didn't do that in 2003, not yet. But life happened the way it happened, and I ended up getting my teaching degree as a backup, and that's what I ended up doing. Now, here I was, 10 years later, starting to grab onto this concept and realizing, oh my God, I've been doing what I wound up doing, but what do I want to do? Who do I want to be? What can I go do? The filter had been revealed. I'm not enough and I'm not worth it were right there to see that that's the way I had been living. Success or not, because success does not stop us from feeling those thoughts. And I was done with it. I wanted to know what else was possible because I had seen all the times I had been told you're not enough. You won't make it. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not capable. All the times I felt like I was not enough just as who I was and not what I did. I wanted something new. It was really scary to think about leaving a 10-year career at that point in time, but it was all that I could think about for the next year and a half. It plagued my brain. So I'm curious, where might you be turning away from, where your reality is aiming to reveal something to you that you're not willing to take a look at? Where might you be missing the opportunity to get a hold of your thoughts and your feelings and create what you actually desire? And take that step forward, even if it's a little scary. Which brings me to my next point, leading in with this quote. Imposter syndrome is not a disease. It's a normal response to internalizing impossibly high standards. Doubting yourself doesn't mean you're going to fail. It usually means you're facing a new challenge, and you're going to learn. Feeling uncertainty is a precursor to growth. Psychology professor and author Adam Grant. He's got some great books, by the way. Most people miss the opportunity of uncertainty and the gift that it really is because of the fear and the anxiety and the nervousness that comes along with it. Because of that, we tend to just push it away. But it's such a gift. I hope today I get an opportunity to reframe uncertainty, nervousness, fear, all of those things into a gift for you. When we were on our first run to state, I'm sitting in the stands at the state final, and I'm having to go in and talk to my athletes on the biggest day of all of our lives at this point in time. I mean, you guys are in Texas. Anybody been to a Texas high school anything, let alone a championship? It's like, At the exact right moment, one of my friends and fellow colleagues came up to me and hands me this book, Think Like a Champion. And in the book is this chapter flagged nervousness. So I open it up and I start to read it, and I just start bawling. And I look at her and I smile and I'm like, thank you. And I get up and I run down to the field house because I had the perfect message. Revel in it. Now, I did not pretend like I had anything together at that point. I read straight from the chapter. I'm like, I got it, here we go. I shared with them from that book the gift that it is to have something that matters enough to make you nervous. The gift that it is to have something that matters enough to make you nervous. How many people never got that? How many people will never get it? How many people only wish they could have that? Or go back to it? And that we should learn to revel in it, that we should learn to embrace it fully. And in my opinion, search for it. Fear became my guide. Revel in it became not only our team's motto for the next seasons, it became my personal life motto ever since. It has supported me to navigate every decision that I've made, leaving a 12-year career, stepping on new stages, finding new opportunities, and everything in between along the way. When I get that nervous, gut, fearful feeling, I get to lean in and go, okay, is this just scary because it's gonna be something new? Or is it, nope, that's not for you, turn around and go the other way. Because danger's real, I mean, we do have to consider that. But sometimes we don't pause long enough to recognize what kind of fear is it really. There's a song that I absolutely, did I miss my first? I did, my apologies. Learn to revel in it was point number 2. There's a song that I love that reminds me about this whenever I get that feeling of like, oh my gosh, who am I to do this? Should I do this? And if you've never heard it, it's called Daydream by Lily Maliola, and it is absolutely incredible. And this is just part of the chorus that I want to share with you. It's your life that you're making. It ain't big enough if it doesn't scare the hell out of you. If it makes you nervous, it's probably worth it. Why save it for sleep when you could be living your daydream? Thank you. Okay, that part's over. If you have not heard that song, the entire song, every single lyric is absolutely amazing. But I do remember the day that I decided to tell my team that I was leaving to find my daydream. And everyone had told me, don't you dare tell them before season starts, you will lose them. This is not the way to go. But I knew there was no way, I can't go into season without telling these girls I'm gonna be leaving after we're done. So I pulled them into the meeting room, got them all together, and I could tell they knew something was going on. They're like, what's happening, what's going on? Why are we all in here right now? This is weird. I was in tears and shaking as I shared that I was going to be leaving to find my dream. And I was so nervous that they were going to be concerned that I was abandoning them or leaving them. But instead, to my surprise and my joy, they were so excited. They were cheering for me, coming up to talk to me, and excited for me, inspired by the idea of going after their dream, only hoping they can do that for themselves. And many of them still follow me on social media today and reach out to let me know it's so fun watching you be who you are now. Because they were part of that journey. Outside of my team, most people thought I was crazy. I was in the height of my career. I had been to 3 state championships, I had multiple coaching awards and all the things. And they're like, why are you leaving? What do you mean you're leaving? You're leaving to do fashion? Huh? I'm like, y'all, my inner child needs a minute, all right? Like, I haven't done anything for me in a while. So I went and did whatever it was that I wanted to do, but people definitely did not understand. So I just want to say, like, it will take courage when that uncertainty comes up, when that fear comes up. But what people don't realize is that courage is a skill. Courage is not something most people are just born with. Courage requires you to take the next step, even if it's scary. It requires you to do the next thing, to do the next thing, and do the next thing, because it gets a little easier, and a little easier, and a little easier each time. But you've got to be willing to take the first step first, and be okay with however it's going to go. We have another saying in the work that I do, which is there's no such thing as failure, it's only feedback. And if you can reframe failure to that, you've got a lot of opportunities. So I want you to consider, where might you be missing your opportunity to revel in it? Where might you be missing your opportunity, no matter where you are in your life, to find that next leap, to find that next challenge, that next risk that elicits those kind of emotions that you miss? Which brings me to my final point. You become through being, and often before believing. I'm going to say that again, because some of you might need to hear it again. You become through being, and often before believing. If you've actually seen an Amy Cuddy video about imposters, or actually about feeling like an imposter, she talks about faking it till you become it, not faking it till you make it. And she talks about a theory of teaching our body, using our body to teach our mind a new way. And there's actually plenty of people out there that believe our subconscious mind and our body become one. That sometimes our body remembers even better than our brain does. We've been being the way we've been being for so long, it's just natural, it just comes out that way. Perfect example, my father trains law enforcement in San Antonio. And he told me a story once about doing training with handguns. And they were disarming each other. And they would disarm each other, hand the gun back, keep going. Disarm each other, hand the gun back, keep going. Well, they went out into the field, you know where this is going, and a police officer disarmed somebody and gave the gun back. Yeah, so everything's okay, but they obviously came back and had to change the training to at least put the gun on the floor so they had a chance to get the gun back. But that's just the reality of how quickly something can become a habit, and we only think of that sometimes when it comes to sports or learning a language, but this is your life. These are your belief systems and how you show up in the world. How it actually shows up, ooh, actually, you know what, I'm gonna prove it to you first. Stand up. Awesome, make sure you got a little bit of room, and since we actually do have a little room. Awesome. I was worried we were gonna be like shoulder to shoulder and seat to seat, and I was like, oh, it's working, okay. right, so plant your feet. Your feet are glued to the floor now. Okay, your feet are glued. I want you to lift your right arm. Your right. Good. You're going to open to your right as far as you can, keeping your feet planted. Keep turning and turning and turning and follow your hand with your eyes. Follow your hand with your eyes. Keep your feet planted. Those feet are stuck. Good, now get a really good mental picture of where you are. Take a really good snapshot of where your finger is pointing. Fabulous. Now turn forward. Hands down, eyes closed. Just give me a couple seconds. Eyes closed. Now, imagine doing what you just did. Imagine standing there with your arm up, feet planted. Imagine turning as far as you just turned until you can see where it was you stopped just a moment ago. Now, you're just imagining, so why not go 25% further? Go a quarter further. Again, we're just playing a game here, so let's go 50% further. Go a little further. Just keep twisting. You know what? Let's just be like a cartoon and go ahead and twist all the way around and see what you might see if you were to twist all the way around. Just visualize and get that really clear picture. Good. Eyes open. Feet planted. Arm up. Twist.
Wow.
And come back. Thank you. Take a seat. I know, that one always gets everybody. You're like, what just happened? That's not mine, by the way. That's Tony Robbins. But I have to borrow it because it's so good. Because look, you only thought you could go as far as you got until you gave your mind a new possibility. And all you did was visualize. All you did was consider it as a possibility. And if you didn't get further, that's a whole other conversation. Find me outside. Yep. Would it surprise you to know that I used to have a fear of public speaking? A massive one. Singing in front of people? No! You can ask my family. We would have to turn the lights off and I'd have to turn around. There was no such thing as public speaking or singing in front of people. But I quickly learned through everything that I've showed here and that I've done that I wasn't scared of public speaking. I was scared of being seen, heard, and known. Which is another big reality of feeling like an imposter. Who am I to be seen, heard, and known? Or, oh my God, please don't. You'll know I don't belong up here. It takes practice, and visualization is a beautiful way to start. When I decided, okay, well, apparently I really want to be seen, heard, and known in front of people, great. What does that look like? What does that sound like? What does that feel like? What is that like in reality? How do I show up in my community for that to become something that happens? What am I going to look like? What am I going to sound like? What am I going to say? But what really got me was considering, what are other people going to say to me, and about what I share? And that's what really got me. And that's also when I learned that I was no longer faking it, that I had become it. I love that you're here today again, Kelly, because Kelly is one of the first people that came up to me and said verbatim words that I had been visualizing that someone would come say to me one day. And it was a lot faster than y'all might think. So I want to give you this opportunity because I don't believe in leaving you just with inspiration. I want you to have action. So, consider an area of life where you don't currently have what you want, where you're not being who you want to be. It could be your health, it can be your finances, your marriage, your career. I don't care what it is. Where is it that you're not quite where you want to be? And when you have what that area is, give me a little nod just so I can get an idea that everybody's got something. Something you can think about, something you can focus on, knowing that when you do this, you're going to leave here with new actions and new opportunities, maybe a new reality. So go ahead now and close your eyes. One more time. And now that you've got that area of life where you want something different, a new opportunity, who is this person? What characteristics does this person have? What attributes? What do they look like? How do they dress? How do they hold themselves? How do they interact with other people? What do they say? What do other people say? Who are they being? What do they choose to believe in? What actions do they take? Who do they spend their time with or not? And just take a moment to get a really clear picture of who this is and how they show up in the world. Take a big deep breath. And exhale. Open your eyes. How fun is that, though? To imagine what's possible, who we can be, who we desire to be, and the reality of it. Because that only takes 2 to 5 minutes a day, and your brain will want to take action in that direction because your brain needs to do what you believe. Your brain has to follow your definition of yourself, and you just gave yourself a new definition. Now all you have to do is keep reinforcing it. Visualization and action. There's one more piece to this, which is to also give yourself grace along the way. And grace is not necessarily defined the way you might define it. When I say grace, what I mean is to let go of this right or wrong or good or bad mentality and take on, is it working? Right, wrong, good, bad, so constrictive. But we can just look and say, is this working for me, for it, for them, for everything? There's so much more grace and there's so much more space. So I offer that you start to reframe it. I've really enjoyed my opportunity to share with you guys today. Y'all have been like pin drop involved. It's amazing. I appreciate it. And it's incredible for me to even be standing up here in front of all of you. Like, when y'all were joking earlier about, so glad there was no social media, I'm like, I would be on the stage if there was social media when I was in college. We all had our time. But I hope something that I've said today has lit you up or resonated or landed in a way that you needed it to walk out of here with some kind of insight, some kind of action ideally, or just a new way of seeing something, because that in and of itself is a massive thing, is to see things newly, to have a new filter, even if it's a small change. I'm gonna skip this next slide because I want you to see this one. I have a gift for you, which is, I mentioned the victim, the villain, and the victor. And if you want an opportunity for a free little quiz to find out how you show up in the world, if you do the QR code, you'll get a free little quiz, and it's called the drama quiz. And our clients love it because it tells you where you're showing up. Are you showing up as the victim, the villain? And here's the funny part. Most of you are not showing up the way you think you are. Most people do it, and they're like, oh, this is not what I expected.
Okay.
And it will also give you some insight into what does that even mean and how can you start to do something about it. Obviously, if something did resonate for you today, I really hope you'll take a moment to come find me and share with me. I would greatly appreciate that. That really does light me up and keeps me moving forward doing this. And for all my millennials in the room, find me and tag me. That helps too. But I mentioned earlier that my best friends, one of them who's in the back of the room right now, found my diploma and framed it for me, wrapped it for me, and gave it to me for Christmas. I had no idea what it was when they gave it to me. They gave me this huge, and it was this beautiful frame, this huge thing, and I'm like, what is this? And I'm opening it and unwrapping it, and when I finally start to realize what it actually is, I'm in tears. I'm in tears because I'm literally finally experiencing the achievement and the pride. I was the first one to graduate college out of my family, and there's just all these pieces of the fact that I did that, and I'd never let it set in. But I was also really grateful that I had friends who would know how far I've come and how much a gift like that would mean to me when I didn't even know. So I want you to know that you can navigate this phenomenon of this imposter phenomenon. And it will take you being responsible for your thoughts and for your emotions. And it will take courage leaning forward into that fear, using it as your guide. And it will take you stepping up and being who you say you are, in spite of the stories, until you get to the point where you're no longer faking it, you just are who you say you are. And it's worth it because you are worth that. And if I can support you along the way, I hope you'll reach out and let me know. So with that, I'm going to leave you with one final quote. To try is to risk failure, but risk must be taken. Because the greatest hazard of life is to risk nothing. The person who risks nothing, does nothing, has nothing, is nothing. So at the very least, I hope you leave here today considering, where can I take some more risks? Thank you so much. I hope you guys have a wonderful afternoon.